9-year-old Liam Miller clutched the hidden folder against his chest, watching his father stand at the altar beside a woman who planned to destroy him. The ballroom at Riverside Country Estate sparkled with perfection. 300 guests in their finest clothes, white roses cascading down marble columns, crystal chandeliers throwing rainbow light across everything. But Liam's small hands were shaking. He had discovered Vanessa's horrible plan, and this was his last chance to save Daddy. The priest opened his book, smiling warmly at the crowd. If anyone here has any reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, speak now or forever hold your peace. Silence filled the grand hall. Liam's heart hammered against his ribs. He stood up, his voice small but clear, cutting through the quiet like glass breaking. I do. Dad, please don't marry her. She's lying to you. She wants to steal everything and leave us. The room erupted in shocked gasps and urgent whispers. Vanessa's perfect bride smile melted away for just a second, revealing something cold and dangerous underneath. But Liam didn't care anymore. He had to save the only parent he had left. Hello everyone, welcome to our story. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. As a 9-year-old boy without his mother, Liam had learned to be braver and stronger than most kids his age. He had been only 4 when Rebecca, his beautiful mama, died from cancer, leaving him to help his broken father survive each day. The grief had been terrifying, watching Daddy cry in the shower when he thought Liam was asleep, seeing the way he stared at Mama's photos for hours without moving. But Liam knew Daddy needed him. So even though he was just a little boy, he had to grow up fast. He learned to pour his own cereal when Daddy forgot about breakfast. He set 2 alarms on the kitchen tablet so they wouldn't be late for school. When other kids talked about their weekend plans with both parents, Liam would smile and change the subject, protecting the secret that his father sometimes couldn't get out of bed for 2 whole days. It was hard being the one to take care of things, but Liam did it because he loved Daddy more than anything in the world. He'd seen the pain in his father's eyes, the way he still set Mama's coffee mug out every morning by accident, the quiet moments late at night when Daddy would sit in the dark living room, holding Mama's cardigan and crying silently. The house felt too big and too empty without her laugh, without her singing while she cooked dinner, without her tucking Liam in and telling him stories about brave knights and clever princes. But Liam tried to be brave, just like Mama had taught him before she got too sick to talk. He would climb into Daddy's lap when he looked especially sad and tell him about the funny thing that happened at recess. He drew pictures of the 3 of them together, Mama as an angel with wings, and hung them on the refrigerator to remind Daddy that they were still a family, even with one person missing. As the months turned into years, though, Liam began to notice something that scared him deep in his stomach. Daddy was so lost in his grief and loneliness that sometimes he forgot Liam was even there. He would sit at his computer for 12 hours straight, designing buildings and drinking cold coffee, not noticing when Liam came home from school. Liam would have to say Dad 4 or 5 times before his father would blink and look at him, confused, as if waking from a dream. Liam was only 9 years old, but he felt like he was taking care of a grown-up instead of the other way around. He made sure they had food in the house. He did his own homework without help. He even learned to forge his father's signature on permission slips when Daddy was too distracted to sign them. Liam missed Mama so much it physically hurt sometimes, like someone had carved a hole in his chest. But he was also scared about Daddy. He remembered Mama's last whispered words to him in the hospital, her thin hand squeezing his, "Take care of your father for me, little knight. He's going to need you to be strong." And Liam tried. He tried so hard every single day. That's why when Daddy met Vanessa at a business conference in Chicago 18 months ago, Liam had wanted to be happy for him. He really had. Ethan Miller had been designing a downtown renovation project when Vanessa Reed walked into his firm's presentation. She was a consultant, hired to evaluate the historical preservation aspects of the design. She was sophisticated and elegant, wearing expensive clothes that looked like they belonged in magazines. She asked smart questions and made Daddy laugh, really laugh, for the first time since Mama died. After the meeting, she had stopped by Ethan's office. "Your design is brilliant," she'd said, her voice smooth as silk. "But I noticed you worked too hard. When's the last time you had a real meal?" Ethan had looked embarrassed, glancing at the half-eaten protein bar on his desk. I'm not sure. Let me take you to dinner. We can discuss the project." She'd smiled, perfect red lips and white teeth. Purely professional. But it hadn't stayed professional for long. Within 2 months, Vanessa was at their house every weekend. She brought expensive wine and fancy takeout. She complimented Ethan's work, touched his shoulder when she laughed, looked at him like he was the most interesting person in the world. And Daddy, Lonely, desperate daddy, had fallen for it completely. Liam had tried to like her. He really had. When Vanessa first came to their house, she'd brought him a toy robot and asked about school. She'd seemed nice enough, even if her smile felt a little too perfect, a little too practiced. "You must be Liam," she'd said, crouching down to his level. "Your father talks about you all the time. He says you're very smart." "Thank you," Liam had said quietly, clutching his stuffed bear, the one Mama had given him. Vanessa's eyes had flickered to the bear, and something had crossed her face. Annoyance? Disgust? But it was gone so fast Liam thought he'd imagined it. "That's a nice bear," she'd said, her voice still sweet. "Though aren't you getting a little old for stuffed animals?" Liam had held the bear tighter. "Mama gave it to me." "Oh. Of course." Vanessa had stood up quickly, turning to Ethan. "What a sweet boy." But Liam had seen it, the way her smile hadn't reached her eyes. The way she'd looked at Mama's photo on the mantel with something that might have been contempt. Over the following months, Liam noticed more things that made his stomach feel funny. Vanessa was always sweet and charming when Daddy was around. She'd ruffle Liam's hair and call him sport and ask about his day at school. But when Daddy left the room, even for just a minute, her whole face would change. The warmth would drain away, replaced by cold indifference. She'd check her phone instead of listening to Liam talk. Once, when Liam accidentally spilled juice on the coffee table, she'd grabbed his wrist hard enough to hurt and hissed, "Watch what you're doing, you little brat," before immediately switching back to her sweet voice when Ethan returned. "Oh, accidents happen," she'd said brightly, though her fingers had left red marks on Liam's arm. Liam had tried to tell Daddy, but he hadn't known how to explain it. "Vanessa seems different when you're not there," he'd said one night. Ethan had laughed, pulling him into a hug. "She's probably just nervous, buddy. It's hard becoming part of a new family. Give her time." But time had only made it worse. Vanessa moved into their house after 8 months of dating. She claimed her lease was up and she needed a temporary place to stay while looking for a new apartment. But the temporary stay became permanent, and suddenly their home felt different. Mama's pictures started disappearing from the walls. "They make the space look cluttered," Vanessa had said, boxing them up. "We need to move forward, not live in the past." Mama's favorite chair was donated to charity. Her garden in the backyard was dug up and replaced with modern landscaping. Even Mama's recipes, handwritten on index cards in the kitchen, vanished one day. When Liam asked where they'd gone, Vanessa had shrugged. "They were old and stained. I threw them out." Liam had cried himself to sleep that night, feeling like Mama was being erased bit by bit. The worst part was that Daddy didn't seem to notice. He was so happy to have companionship again, so grateful that someone wanted him, that he was blind to everything else. When Liam tried to express his concerns, Ethan would just say, "You're having trouble with change, buddy. I understand. But Vanessa's good for us. You'll see." Then, 6 months ago, Ethan had proposed. He'd done it at a fancy restaurant, with champagne and a violinist and a ring that probably cost more than their car. Vanessa had cried perfect tears and said yes, and Daddy had been glowing with happiness. Liam had smiled and congratulated them, because what else could he do? But inside, he'd felt like he was watching his father walk toward a cliff in the dark. Something was wrong with Vanessa. He could feel it in his bones, the way you know when a storm is coming even before the sky gets dark. But nobody believed a 9-year-old's instincts. Adults always thought they knew better. So Liam had tried to push his worries away. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe he was just scared of change, like Daddy said. Maybe Vanessa would become a good stepmother once they were really a family. But then, 3 days before the wedding, everything changed. It was a Tuesday afternoon, 3 days before the wedding. Liam had been moved to the Riverside country estate along with his father and Vanessa for the final preparations. Vanessa had insisted on it, saying it would help them bond as a family before the big day. But the massive estate, with its endless hallways and cold marble floors, just made Liam feel more alone. He'd been looking for his tablet everywhere. He'd left it somewhere that morning while playing games, and now he needed it for his homework. He checked his room, the kitchen, the library, nothing. Then he remembered. He'd been in Vanessa's private study earlier, sitting in the corner while she made phone calls and sorted through wedding papers. She'd seemed annoyed by his presence but hadn't said anything with Daddy nearby. The study was on the second floor, down a long hallway lined with oil paintings of people Liam didn't know. As he approached, he noticed the door was slightly open, just a crack. He was about to knock when he heard Vanessa's voice, sharp, angry, completely different from her usual sweet tone. "Relax, Mark. Once I'm married, I'll transfer the money. His loaded, you'll get your cut. Liam froze in the hallway, his hand halfway to the door. His heart started beating faster. Mark? Who was Mark? Vanessa had never mentioned anyone named Mark before. He knew he shouldn't listen. Mama had always taught him that eavesdropping was wrong. But something in Vanessa's voice, something cold and mean, made him press closer to the door. No, he has no idea, Vanessa continued, her laugh bitter and cruel. By the time he finds out, it'll be too late. He'll have signed the will over, and we'll disappear. I've waited too long for this. That pathetic widower and his clingy little brat won't know what hit them. The words hit Liam like a punch to the stomach. She was talking about them, about him and Daddy. She wanted to steal their money and leave. She'd been lying the whole time. His hands started trembling. His tablet slipped from his grip, and he caught it at the last second, fumbling with it desperately. But in his panic, his elbow knocked into a decorative vase on the hallway table. The crash was deafening in the quiet hallway. What was that? Vanessa's voice turned sharp with suspicion. Hold on, Mark. Liam heard footsteps, quick, clicking heels on the hardwood floor. She was coming to investigate. His mind went blank with terror. If she found him, if she knew he'd heard. He ran. His sneakers were silent on the carpet as he sprinted down the hallway. There, the dining room, just ahead. He dove through the doorway and scrambled under the massive mahogany table, pressing himself against one of the thick carved legs, making himself as small as possible. Just in time. Through the gap between the chair legs, Liam could see Vanessa's expensive black heels appear in the hallway. They stopped. Turned. Walked slowly toward the dining room. Hello? She called out, her voice deceptively sweet again. Is someone there? Liam held his breath until his lungs burned. He could see her shoes just inches from the dining room entrance. She paused there for what felt like an eternity, and he was certain she could hear his heart pounding like a drum. Please don't come in. Please don't come in. Please. After what seemed like forever, Vanessa muttered something under her breath and walked away, her heels clicking back toward her study. Liam waited under that table for at least 10 minutes, counting slowly to 600 just to be sure. His legs were cramping and his back hurt, but he was too scared to move. What he'd heard kept playing over and over in his mind. That pathetic widower and his clingy little brat. She hated them. She'd always hated them. Every smile, every kind word, every I love you she'd said to Daddy, all lies. She was going to steal everything and disappear with this Mark person, whoever he was. Liam had to tell Daddy. Right now. Liam found his father in the master bedroom suite, going over seating charts with Miss Patricia, the wedding planner. They were discussing whether Uncle Robert should sit near the front or the back, and Daddy was laughing at something Miss Patricia had said. He looked so happy. So relaxed. For the first time in 5 years, the sadness that usually lived in his eyes was gone. Liam almost turned around and left. How could he destroy that happiness? But then he remembered Vanessa's cold voice. By the time he finds out, it'll be too late. Dad. Liam burst into the room, his voice high and panicked. Dad, I need to talk to you. It's really, really important. Ethan looked up from the seating chart, his smile fading into concern. Liam, buddy, I'm in the middle of. Please. It can't wait. The urgency in his son's voice made Ethan pause. He glanced at Miss Patricia. Could you give us a moment? Of course. The wedding planner gathered her papers and left, closing the door gently behind her. Okay, what's wrong? Ethan knelt down to Liam's level, his hands on his son's shoulders. You look terrified. Did something happen? The words came tumbling out in a desperate rush. I heard Vanessa on the phone. She was talking to someone named Mark. She said she's going to take your money and disappear after you sign some papers. She's using you, Dad. She doesn't really love you. She called us pathetic and. Whoa, slow down. Ethan's expression shifted from concern to something else. Disappointment. Liam, what are you talking about? I heard her. I was looking for my tablet and I heard her talking on the phone. She's planning to steal from you and leave. Ethan stood up, running a hand through his hair. Liam. I'm not making it up. I swear, Dad, I really heard her. Sweetheart. Ethan's voice was patient but firm, the way adults talk to children when they think they're being silly. I understand that you're struggling with this wedding. I know it's hard for you to accept Vanessa as part of our family. But making up stories. I'm not making it up. Liam felt tears burning behind his eyes, hot and frustrated. Why won't you believe me? Because it doesn't make sense. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed, looking tired. Vanessa has been nothing but kind to us. She loves me. She wants to build a life together. I think maybe you overheard her venting to a friend. People say things they don't mean when they are stressed. Planning a wedding is incredibly stressful. No, Dad, that's not. And honestly, Liam, this Mark person could be anyone. Her accountant, her lawyer, a wedding vendor. You're taking something out of context and building it into this big conspiracy because you're scared. I'm not scared. But even as Liam said it, he knew it was a lie. He was terrified. Terrified of losing his father, terrified of being alone, terrified that no one would believe him. I'm trying to protect you. I know you are. Ethan's voice softened. And I love you for wanting to look out for me. But Liam, you have to trust me on this. I'm the adult. I know Vanessa. I love her, and she loves us. She's been under enormous pressure with all the wedding planning. Maybe she said something that sounded bad out of context, but I promise you, there's a reasonable explanation. Dad, please. Enough. Ethan's tone turned firm. I don't want to hear any more of this. Vanessa is going to be your stepmother in 3 days. She's going to be part of our family. You need to accept that. But I heard. Liam. Go to your room. Dad. Now. The command hit Liam like a slap. Daddy never used that voice with him. Never. Tears spilled down his cheeks as he turned and ran from the room, his vision blurry, his chest tight with panic and grief. He didn't see Vanessa standing just outside in the hallway, hidden in the alcove by the tall grandfather clock. She'd been listening to every word. As Liam ran past, their eyes met for just a second. And Vanessa smiled. It wasn't her fake sweet smile or her perfect bride smile. It was something else entirely, cold, victorious, triumphant. The smile of someone who'd already won and knew it. Then it was gone, replaced by fake concern as she called after him. Liam? Sweetie? Are you all right? But Liam kept running. He ran to his room, slammed the door, and locked it. Then he collapsed on his bed, sobbing into his pillow. Daddy didn't believe him. Nobody would believe a 9-year-old kid over a beautiful, charming adult. Vanessa was going to destroy their lives, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. Unless he could find proof. Real, solid proof that even Daddy couldn't ignore. Liam sat up, wiping his tears with the back of his hand. His heart was still pounding, but now it was different. Not just fear, determination too. If nobody would listen to him, he'd have to show them. He'd have to find evidence of Vanessa's plan and bring it to Daddy himself. He thought about all the detective shows he'd watched with Mama before she got sick. The investigators always looked for documents, photos, anything that proved someone was lying. Vanessa had to have something, some kind of evidence of who this Mark person was and what they were planning. But where would she keep it? Her room. Of course. Vanessa had her own private suite on the east wing of the estate. She kept it locked when she wasn't there, said it was her personal space where she prepared for the wedding. Liam had never been inside. But tonight, he would be. Even if it terrified him. Even if he got caught. He had to save Daddy. He had to prove that Vanessa was lying. Because he'd already lost Mama. He couldn't lose Daddy too. That night, Liam lay in his bed fully clothed, watching the red numbers on his digital clock slowly change. 9:47 p.m. 10:15 p.m. 10:38 p.m. The house was old and enormous, and every little sound made him jump. The wind against the windows. Footsteps in distant hallways. The creaking of ancient floorboards settling. He waited until 11:30 p.m., when he was sure everyone would be asleep. His heart hammered so loudly in his chest he was certain someone would hear it through the walls. This was crazy. He was 9 years old, sneaking around a huge estate in the middle of the night, about to break into someone's private room. If he got caught, Daddy would be so angry. But if he didn't do this, Vanessa would destroy everything. Liam slipped out of bed and crept to his door, opening it slowly to avoid any squeaks. The hallway was dark except for the small night lights plugged into outlets along the baseboards, just enough light to see by. He moved on silent feet, keeping close to the wall. Every shadow looked like a person. Every sound made him want to run back to his room. But he forced himself to keep going. Vanessa's suite was at the end of the east wing, past the library and the portrait gallery. It took Liam almost 10 minutes to get there, stopping every few steps to listen for footsteps or voices. When he finally reached her door, his hand trembled as he reached for the handle. Locked. Of course it was locked. Liam's shoulders sagged with disappointment. He should have known. Vanessa was too careful to leave her door unlocked, especially with her secrets hidden inside. He was about to give up when he remembered something. Last week, he'd seen the housekeeper, Mrs. Chen, using a master key to open locked rooms when she was cleaning. And she always kept that key ring hanging on a hook in the kitchen pantry. Liam's stomach twisted. That meant going all the way back downstairs, through the dark house, to the kitchen. Then back up again. The longer he was out of his room, the more likely someone would catch him. But he'd come this far. He couldn't stop now. The journey to the kitchen felt like it took forever. Every creak of the stairs made him freeze. Every shadow made his breath catch. When he finally reached the kitchen, the moonlight streaming through the windows made everything look silver and strange. The pantry door was unlocked. Inside, on the little hook by the storage shelves, hung Mrs. Chen's key ring. It had at least 20 different keys on it, all different sizes and shapes. Liam grabbed it, cringing at the loud jingle of metal. He stood frozen for a full minute, listening, but no one came. The trip back upstairs was even more terrifying because now he was carrying stolen keys that jangled with every step. He tried to muffle the sound by wrapping his shirt around them, but they still clinked softly. Finally, he was back at Vanessa's door. Now came the hard part, figuring out which key would work. In the movies, people always got it right on the first try. But Liam tried 6 different keys before he found one that slid smoothly into the lock. His hands were shaking so badly he almost dropped the key ring. The lock clicked. The door swung open with a soft creak. Liam stood at the threshold, his heart pounding so hard he felt dizzy. This was Vanessa's private space. If she caught him here, there would be no explaining it away. But he'd come too far to turn back now. He stepped inside and quietly closed the door behind him. The room was neat, almost obsessively neat. Everything had its place. The bed was perfectly made with crisp white sheets. The desk had papers stacked in precise piles. Even the shoes in the open closet were lined up like soldiers. Liam stood in the darkness, letting his eyes adjust to the moonlight coming through the sheer curtains. Where would Vanessa hide evidence of her plan? Where would she keep secrets? He started with the desk. The drawers were full of wedding planning documents, vendor contracts, seating arrangements, menu selections. Nothing suspicious. He was careful to put everything back exactly as he'd found it. Next, the dresser. Clothes, jewelry, makeup. Normal things. He was starting to worry that maybe there was nothing to find. Maybe Daddy had been right and he'd misunderstood what he'd heard. Then he saw the suitcase. It was a large designer suitcase, the kind that cost more than Daddy's car, tucked in the back corner of the closet behind hanging dresses. Why would Vanessa have a packed suitcase 2 days before her wedding? Unless she was planning to leave. Liam dragged it out carefully, trying not to make noise. The suitcase was heavy. He laid it flat on the floor and unzipped it with trembling fingers. Inside were clothes, neatly folded and packed. Expensive clothes he'd seen Vanessa wear before. Underneath the clothes, his fingers hit something hard, a rectangular box. He pulled it out. It was a small metal lockbox, the kind people kept important documents in. Locked, of course. But Liam still had Mrs. Chen's key ring. With shaking hands, he tried different keys until, click. The lockbox opened. What he found inside made his blood run cold. There were photographs, lots of them. Vanessa with a man Liam had never seen before. He was tall, with dark hair and a mean-looking smile. In the photos, they were laughing together, kissing, holding each other the way people in love do. One photo was labeled on the back in Vanessa's handwriting, Mark, Cancun, last month. But that was impossible. Last month, Vanessa had told them she was in Boston visiting her sick aunt. She'd sent them photos of hospital waiting rooms and texts about how worried she was. All lies. Liam's hands shook as he kept digging. There was more, so much more. A passport with Vanessa's photo but a completely different name, Victoria Reese. The birth date was different too. Who was Victoria Reese? Several driver's licenses, all with Vanessa's picture but different names and addresses. Jennifer Morrison. Sarah Blackwood. Catherine Delgado. Bank statements showing large deposits, hundreds of thousands of dollars, from sources labeled EM Trust and EM Holdings. Daddy's initials. And then, at the very bottom, Liam found the worst thing of all. A legal document with fancy letterhead from a law firm Liam didn't recognize. The title read Power of Attorney and Asset Transfer Agreement. As Liam read through it, his stomach turned to ice. The document would give Vanessa complete control over Daddy's company, his bank accounts, his properties, everything. It had spaces for signatures at the bottom. The document was dated for this Friday, the day after the wedding. Clipped to it was a handwritten note in Vanessa's elegant script. "Have you signed this at reception? Tell him it's standard postnuptial paperwork. He won't read it." Liam felt sick. This was real. All of it was real. Vanessa had planned everything down to the smallest detail. She was going to marry Daddy, trick him into signing away everything he owned, and then disappear with this Mark person. He had to take this evidence. He had to show Daddy. This was proof, real, undeniable proof. With trembling hands, Liam pulled out his tablet and took photos of everything. Every document, every picture, every fake ID. His hands were shaking so badly that some of the photos came out blurry, but he kept taking them until he'd documented everything in the lockbox. Then he carefully put everything back exactly as he'd found it, closed the lockbox, locked it, and returned it to the suitcase. He zipped the suitcase and pushed it back into the closet, making sure the dresses hung in front of it the same way they had before. His heart was pounding so loudly he could hear it in his ears. He'd done it. He had the proof. But as he turned to leave, he heard something that made his blood freeze. Footsteps in the hallway. Coming closer. Liam looked around frantically. The door, the closet, under the bed, nowhere was safe. If Vanessa came in and found him, if she realized he knew everything. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. Liam heard the jingle of keys. She was coming in. In pure panic, Liam dove behind the large armchair in the corner of the room, pressing himself into the shadows, making himself as small as possible. He clutched his tablet to his chest, barely breathing. The door opened. The light flicked on. Vanessa walked in, still in her elegant evening clothes, talking on her phone. Her voice was cold and calculating, the real Vanessa, not the fake sweet one she showed Daddy. "I told you not to call this late, Mark," she hissed into the phone. "He might hear you." "No, the brat's been asking questions, but the idiot father won't listen to him. After tomorrow, it won't matter anyway." Liam pressed himself harder against the wall, trying to become invisible. From his hiding spot, he could see Vanessa's reflection in the vanity mirror as she paced the room. "Yes, I have the papers ready," she continued, her voice full of contempt. "He'll sign them thinking it's just standard post-wedding paperwork. His lawyer won't even see them until after we're gone." She laughed, a cold, cruel sound that made Liam's skin crawl. "Of course I feel nothing for him. He's a means to an end, Mark. A lonely, desperate man with a dead wife and too much money. Easiest target I've ever played." She paused, listening to whoever was on the other end. "Stop worrying. By Monday, we'll be on a beach in Belize, and Ethan Miller will be $50 million poorer. The kid will probably end up in foster care, but that's not my problem." Another pause, then a satisfied smile. "No, I don't feel guilty. People like him deserve to be taken advantage of. Too trusting, too naive, too stupid to see what's right in front of his face." Liam bit his lips so hard he tasted blood. He wanted to scream, to jump out and tell her he knew everything, but he couldn't. Not yet. Not until he had help. "I need to sleep," Vanessa said finally. "Tomorrow's the final dress fitting, and I need to look perfect. The heartbroken widow act is exhausting. Yes, I'll call you tomorrow. Goodbye." She ended the call and stood there for a moment, her beautiful face twisted into an expression of pure greed and malice. She looked like a completely different person, like a monster wearing Vanessa's skin. Then she turned off the light and left the room, closing the door behind her. Liam waited in the darkness, counting slowly to 500, barely breathing. His legs were cramping and his back hurt from pressing against the wall, but he was too terrified to move. Finally, when he was sure she was gone, he crawled out from behind the chair. His whole body was shaking. He had to get out of here, had to get back to his room, had to figure out what to do with the evidence he'd found. But as he opened the door and peeked into the hallway, a terrible thought struck him. He had proof. He had photos and had heard her confess everything. But Daddy hadn't believed him before. What if the photos weren't enough? What if Daddy thought Liam had faked them somehow, or misunderstood what they meant? He needed help. Adult help. Someone Daddy would trust, someone who knew how to handle situations like this. And suddenly, Liam knew exactly who to call. Aunt Grace. Liam made it back to his room without being caught, though his legs felt like jelly the entire way. He locked his door, climbed into bed fully clothed, and pulled the covers over himself, trying to stop shaking. It was almost 1 a.m. Too late to call anyone. But this couldn't wait until morning. By morning, it might be too late. Grace Chen had been Mama's best friend since college. They'd been roommates, bridesmaids at each other's weddings, and had stayed close through everything. When Mama got sick, Aunt Grace had been there for every hospital visit, every treatment, every terrible moment. She'd held Mama's hand when she was too weak to speak and had sobbed at the funeral like she'd lost a sister. She'd also been a police detective for the past 10 years. If anyone would know what to do, it would be Aunt Grace. Liam had her number memorized. Mama had made him memorize it years ago, just in case you ever need help and can't reach Daddy. With trembling fingers, Liam grabbed his tablet and opened the video call app. He turned the volume down low and pressed Aunt Grace's contact. The call rang once. Twice. 3 times. Liam's heart sank. She was probably asleep. Of course she was asleep, it was 1 in the morning. Then the screen flickered to life, showing Aunt Grace's concerned face. She was in her pajamas, her streaked black hair messy, her reading glasses pushed up on her head. Liam? Honey, it's so late. Is everything okay? Where are you? The concern in her voice, the real, genuine worry, made something break inside Liam. Tears spilled down his cheeks before he could stop them. Aunt Grace, he whispered, trying to keep his voice down. I need help. It's about Dad's wedding. Something really bad is happening. Grace's expression sharpened instantly, her detective instincts kicking in. Talk to me, sweetheart. What's going on? The whole story came pouring out, how he'd overheard Vanessa's phone call, how Daddy hadn't believed him, how he'd snuck into her room and found all the evidence. He held his tablet up to show her the photos he'd taken. Grace was silent as she examined each image, her face growing more and more serious. When Liam showed her the power of attorney document and the fake IDs, her jaw tightened. Liam, she said quietly, her voice steady but urgent. Listen to me very carefully. This is extremely serious. Your father is in real danger. I know. But he won't listen to me. I tried to tell him and he thinks I'm just scared of change or making things up. I believe you, honey. Grace's voice was firm and sure. Everything you've shown me, the fake identities, the transfer documents, the photos with this marked person, this is a classic con. Your father is being targeted by professional criminals. Hearing an adult, a police officer, confirm his fears made Liam feel both relieved and more terrified at the same time. What do I do? The wedding is tomorrow. Today, technically, Grace corrected, glancing at her watch. We don't have much time. She was quiet for a moment, thinking. Okay, here's what we're going to do. First, send me all those photos. Every single one. I need them as evidence. Liam nodded quickly, his fingers flying across the screen as he sent the entire folder to her email. Good, Grace said, watching her own phone as the files came through. Second, I need you to not confront Vanessa again. Don't let her know you have this information. Can you do that? Can you act normal today? I think so. Liam wiped his tears with the back of his hand. But Aunt Grace, what if Daddy signs those papers? What if she gets away with it? She won't. I promise you, sweetheart, she won't. Grace's voice was full of conviction. I'm going to make some calls tonight. We're going to look into Victoria Reese and these other aliases, see what we can find. And I'm coming to that wedding. You are? Hope flared in Liam's chest. I wouldn't miss it. Your dad invited me weeks ago, but I wasn't sure I could make it. Now I'm making it. She gave him a small, determined smile. I'll be there, and I'm bringing backup. We're going to stop this, Liam. But I need you to be brave for just a little longer. Can you do that? Liam nodded, feeling a little bit of the crushing weight lift from his shoulders. He wasn't alone anymore. Someone believed him. Someone was going to help. When Vanessa tries to get your father to sign those papers, that's when we'll act, Grace continued. But Liam, there's one more thing. During the ceremony, when the priest asks if anyone objects to the marriage, do you think you could speak up? Liam's eyes went wide. In front of everyone? I know it's scary. But it might be our best chance to stop the wedding before any papers get signed. I'll be there to back you up. You won't be alone. Liam thought about it. Standing up in front of hundreds of people, accusing Vanessa, having everyone stare at him. His stomach churned just thinking about it. But then he thought about Daddy signing those papers. About Vanessa and Mark disappearing with everything. About being left alone with nothing. I'll do it, he said, his voice small but determined. I'll stop the wedding. That's my brave boy. Grace's smile was proud and sad at the same time. Your mama would be so proud of you, Liam. You're protecting your family, just like she asked you to. The mention of Mama made fresh tears spring to Liam's eyes. I miss her, Aunt Grace. I know, honey. I miss her too. Every single day. Grace's own eyes were shiny with tears. But she's watching over you. I truly believe that. And tomorrow, we're going to make sure you and your dad are safe. Now, try to get some sleep. It's going to be a long day. Okay. Thank you, Aunt Grace. Thank you for believing me. Always, sweetheart. I'll see you tomorrow. And Liam? Keep that tablet with you at all times. Don't let anyone take it or delete those photos. Understand? I understand. After they hung up, Liam clutched his tablet to his chest like a lifeline. He was still scared, terrified, actually, but at least now he had a plan. He had help. He fell asleep with the tablet tucked under his pillow, dreaming of Mama telling him to be brave. Liam woke up to bright sunlight streaming through his windows and the sound of chaos in the house. People were shouting instructions, running up and down the stairs. The wedding planner's sharp voice cut through everything. The flowers need to be in position by noon. Where is the string quartet? The wedding day had arrived. Liam's stomach twisted into knots as he got dressed in his small suit, the ring-bearer outfit that Vanessa had picked out for him. Navy blue with a little bow tie that he couldn't quite get right. His hands were shaking too much. There was a knock at his door. Liam? Can I come in? Daddy's voice. Yeah, Liam called out, quickly hiding his tablet in the inside pocket of his suit jacket. Ethan entered, looking handsome in his tuxedo, though he hadn't put on the jacket yet. He was smiling, but there were tired lines around his eyes. He probably hadn't slept much. Hey, buddy. Need help with that tie? Liam nodded silently. Ethan knelt down and gently fixed the bow tie, his hands steady and sure. I wanted to talk to you before things get crazy, Ethan said softly, not meeting Liam's eyes. About yesterday. I'm sorry I didn't listen to you better. I know this whole wedding thing has been hard on you, and I haven't been as understanding as I should be. For a moment, Liam wanted to try again. To beg Daddy one more time to believe him, to show him the photos right now, to stop this before it was too late. But he remembered Aunt Grace's words, act normal. Don't let her know you have this information. So instead, Liam just said, it's okay, Dad. It's not, really. Ethan finished with the bow tie and finally looked at his son. You're the most important person in my world, Liam. I need you to know that. Vanessa knows it too. She understands that you come first, always. Liam swallowed hard. If only Daddy knew the truth. If only he could see Vanessa the way Liam had seen her last night, cold, calculating, cruel. I know, Dad, he managed to say. After today, things are going to be different. But different can be good. We're going to be a family, all three of us. Ethan pulled Liam into a hug. I love you so much, buddy. I love you too, Dad. Liam hugged him back tightly, breathing in his father's familiar scent, coffee and cologne. He wanted to hold on to this moment, this feeling of safety, because he knew that in a few hours, everything was going to explode. When Ethan left to finish getting ready, Liam sat on his bed and checked his tablet. There was a message from Aunt Grace, sent an hour ago. I'm on my way. Found some interesting information about Victoria Reese. She's wanted in 3 states for fraud. Bringing Detective Martinez with me. He's handling the case officially now. You're doing great, sweetheart. See you soon. Remember, wait for the objection moment. I'll be in the back row. You won't be alone. Liam took a deep breath. He could do this. He had to do this. The morning passed in a blur. Liam was shuffled from place to place, hair combed, photos taken, instructions given about walking down the aisle with the rings. Everyone around him was happy and excited, laughing and congratulating each other. Vanessa looked like a princess from a fairy tale in her white lace gown, her dark hair perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. She smiled and thanked everyone, playing the role of the blushing bride perfectly. When she saw Liam, she knelt down gracefully, her dress pooling around her like a cloud. Don't you look handsome, she said sweetly, adjusting his bow tie even though it was already perfect. Her fingers lingered a little too long, a little too tight. Are you excited, Liam? Up close, Liam could see that her smile didn't reach her eyes. They were cold and calculating, watching him carefully. Yes, Liam lied, trying to keep his voice steady. Good. Because today is going to be very special. Life-changing, even. Her grip on his shoulder tightened just slightly, not enough for anyone else to notice, but enough to make Liam uncomfortable. For all of us. There was a warning in her voice, a threat hidden beneath the sweet words. She suspected something. Maybe she didn't know exactly what, but she knew Liam was a problem. Vanessa. We need you for photos, the wedding planner called out. Coming. Vanessa's sweet smile returned instantly as she stood up. She looked down at Liam one more time. Be a good boy today, won't you? Then she glided away, leaving Liam standing there with his heart pounding. At 2 p.m., the guests began arriving. Liam watched from a window as expensive cars pulled up to the estate, dropping off men in tuxedos and women in elegant dresses. 300 people, Daddy had said. 300 witnesses to either a wedding or a disaster. Liam scanned every face, looking for Aunt Grace. Finally, at 2:45 p.m., he spotted her. She was wearing a navy blue dress and had her hair styled nicely, but Liam recognized her immediately. She wasn't alone. A tall man in a dark suit walked beside her, and even from a distance, Liam could tell he was a cop. Something about the way he moved, the way he watched everything. That must be Detective Martinez. Aunt Grace looked up at the window where Liam stood and gave him the tiniest nod. She was here. Backup was here. Liam pressed his hand against the glass, feeling a little bit braver. At 3 p.m., the music started. The grand ballroom at Riverside Country Estate had been transformed into something from a dream. Thousands of white roses climbed up marble columns that reached toward the ceiling. Crystal chandeliers caught the afternoon sunlight streaming through tall windows, throwing sparkles of rainbow light across everything. White silk ribbons fluttered from the ceiling, and candles flickered in elegant holders along the aisle. 300 guests sat in neat rows of white chairs, all dressed in their finest clothes, all smiling and whispering excitedly. At the front, a string quartet played soft classical music that filled the huge space with beauty. Liam stood in the groom's waiting room with his father, trying not to throw up. His hands were clammy, and the folder of evidence felt like it was burning a hole in his inside jacket pocket. His tablet was there too, with all the photos safely backed up. You ready, buddy? Ethan asked, adjusting his bow tie one final time in the mirror. He looked so happy, so completely unaware of the danger he was in. His eyes were bright with joy for the first time in 5 years. Liam wanted to scream. He wanted to grab his father and run. But he remembered Aunt Grace's plan, wait for the objection moment. Do this publicly so Vanessa couldn't talk her way out of it. I'm ready, Dad, Liam said quietly. The wedding coordinator, a stressed woman with a clipboard, poked her head in. It's time, Mr. Miller. This was it. Liam walked down the aisle first, carrying the small white pillow with the rings tied to it with ribbons. His legs felt shaky, but he forced himself to walk slowly and steadily, just like they'd practiced. The guests smiled at him as he passed. Some of them cooed about how cute he looked. If only they knew what was about to happen. He spotted Aunt Grace near the back, sitting in the last row. She was wearing sunglasses even though they were indoors, trying to be inconspicuous. Detective Martinez sat beside her, also in sunglasses, his face serious and alert. When Liam walked past, Aunt Grace gave him the tiniest nod of encouragement. Liam took his place at the altar beside where his father would stand. His heart was hammering so hard he could barely hear the music. Then the wedding march began, the famous Here Comes the Bride song that everyone knew. All 300 guests stood up and turned toward the back of the room. And Vanessa appeared. She was breathtaking. Her ivory lace gown fit her perfectly, flowing behind her like water. Her dark hair was swept up elegantly with tiny white flowers tucked into it. A delicate veil covered her face, but through it, Liam could see her victorious smile. She walked slowly down the aisle, holding a bouquet of white roses, looking like every bride's dream. Guests whispered about how beautiful she was. Some of the women dabbed at their eyes with tissues. Liam felt sick. They had no idea. None of them knew they were watching a predator walk toward her prey. When Vanessa reached the altar, Ethan took her hands, and even through her veil, Liam could see the triumph in her eyes. She'd done it. She'd caught the lonely widower with the fortune, and now she was going to take everything. The priest, an elderly man with kind eyes, smiled at everyone. Please, be seated. The guests rustled as they sat down. The room fell silent except for the soft sound of the string quartet finishing their song. Dearly beloved, the priest began, his voice warm and rich, we are gathered here today to witness the union of Ethan Miller and Vanessa Reed in holy matrimony. Marriage is a sacred bond, built on trust, love, and honesty. Liam almost laughed at that word, honesty. There was nothing honest about this wedding. Ethan and Vanessa have chosen to join their lives together, the priest continued, to support one another through joy and sorrow, through prosperity and hardship. The priest went on, talking about love and commitment and forever. Ethan and Vanessa held hands, staring into each other's eyes. To everyone watching, they looked like the perfect couple, like true love. But Liam knew the truth. He'd seen the monster behind Vanessa's beautiful mask. If anyone here has any reason why these two should not be joined in holy matrimony, the priest said, looking out at the crowd with a small smile, speak now, or forever hold your peace. The room was completely silent. This was always the moment in weddings where no one said anything. It was just a formality, a tradition. No one ever actually objected. Liam's heart pounded so hard he thought it might explode. His mouth was dry. His hands were shaking. This was it. This was the moment. He looked at Aunt Grace. She nodded at him, her expression firm and encouraging. Liam took a deep breath and stood up. His small voice cut through the silence like a knife. I do. I object. Every single head in the room turned to stare at him. 300 people, all looking at a 9-year-old boy in a suit that was suddenly too tight and too hot. The silence was deafening. Liam? Ethan's face went from confused to embarrassed to angry in seconds. What are you doing? Dad, please listen to me. Liam's voice was shaking, but he forced himself to keep talking. She's lying to you. Vanessa's not who she says she is. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Guests began whispering urgently to each other. The priest looked completely shocked, like this had never happened in his 40 years of performing weddings. Vanessa's face had gone pale behind her veil. For just a second, her perfect composure cracked, and Liam saw panic flash across her features. Liam, enough. Ethan's voice was sharp with anger and humiliation. He stepped away from the altar and walked toward his son. This isn't funny. This isn't the time or place for. She's planning to steal everything and leave. Liam's voice got louder, desperate. I heard her talking on the phone. She's working with someone named Mark, and they're going to take all your money and disappear. The whispers grew louder. People were shocked, confused, some of them laughing uncomfortably because surely this was some kind of misunderstanding. That's enough. Ethan grabbed Liam's arm, his face red with embarrassment and anger. I'm so sorry, everyone. My son has been having a hard time with this wedding, and his. I'm not making it up. Liam pulled his arm free and reached into his jacket. I have proof. I found her fake IDs and pictures with Mark in the papers she wants you to sign. He pulled out the folder and held it up for everyone to see. Vanessa's eyes went wide. Where did you get that? Her sweet voice was gone, replaced by something sharp and dangerous. You little brat, that's private property. The mask was slipping. He's not lying, a firm voice called out from the back of the room. Everyone turned to see Aunt Grace standing up, removing her sunglasses. Detective Martinez stood beside her, pulling out his badge. Grace? Ethan looked completely confused. What's going on? Grace walked down the aisle, her expression serious and professional. Ethan, your son came to me last night with very serious allegations. Detective Martinez and I spent the night investigating, and I'm afraid Liam is telling the truth. This is ridiculous. Vanessa said, but her voice was panicked now. She tried to grab the folder from Liam's hands, but Grace intercepted her, stepping between them. The woman you know as Vanessa Reed is actually Victoria Reese, Grace said loudly, addressing the entire room. She's wanted in 3 states for fraud and identity theft. She's a con artist who targets wealthy widowers. The crowd erupted in shocked gasps and urgent whispers. Some people stood up to get a better look. Others pulled out their phones. That's absurd. Vanessa tried to maintain her composure, but her hands were shaking. Grace, you've always been jealous of Ethan's happiness. This is sabotage. Is it? Detective Martinez stepped forward, his badge clearly visible. Then you won't mind if we look at the contents of that folder. Or the lockbox in your suitcase upstairs. Vanessa's face went completely white. Ethan, Grace said gently, I need you to look at what Liam found. With trembling hands, Ethan took the folder from his son. Liam watched his father's face as he opened it and saw the photos, Vanessa kissing another man, laughing with him, the sticky note that said Mark, Cancun, last month. Then the fake IDs. The passports with different names. The bank statements showing suspicious transfers. And finally, the power of attorney document that would have given Vanessa control of everything. Ethan's hands started shaking. His face went pale. What is this? It's the truth, Dad, Liam said quietly, tears running down his face. I tried to tell you. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, but she was going to hurt you. Let me see those. Ethan's lawyer, who'd been sitting in the third row, pushed his way forward. He took the documents and examined them, his expression growing darker with each page. Ethan, if you had signed this, you would have lost everything. Your company, your accounts, your properties. Everything. The reality was sinking in. Ethan looked at Vanessa, really looked at her, and saw the truth for the first time. Who are you? I'm the woman who loves you. Vanessa tried one last time, her voice desperate and sweet. Baby, this is all a misunderstanding. Those photos are old, from before we met. The documents are. Stop lying. Ethan's voice was cold and dead. Just stop. Vanessa's face changed. The sweetness vanished completely, replaced by pure rage. Fine. You want the truth? She ripped off her veil and threw it on the ground. You're pathetic, Ethan. A lonely, desperate fool who was so easy to manipulate. You and your clingy brat son. I've been planning this for months, and I almost had everything. The crowd gasped at her sudden transformation. This was the real Vanessa, or Victoria, or whatever her name was, cold, cruel, and furious at being caught. Mark and I would have been in Belize by Monday, living off your money while you figured out what happened, she spat. You're too trusting, too stupid, too. That's enough. Detective Martinez stepped forward, pulling out handcuffs. Victoria Reese, you're under arrest for fraud, identity theft, and attempted grand larceny. You can't prove anything. Vanessa shrieked as Martinez grabbed her arm. Actually, we can. Grace held up her phone. You see, Liam took photos of all your evidence. And this morning, we obtained a warrant for your phone records. We found all your communications with Mark Davidson, your accomplice, who's also wanted in 2 states. He's already been arrested. Vanessa's face crumbled. The game was over, and she knew it. As Detective Martinez read her rights and handcuffed her, Vanessa fought and screamed. This is a mistake. Ethan, tell them. Tell them you want to marry me. You love me. But Ethan just stared at her with a mixture of horror and heartbreak, like he was seeing a stranger for the first time. 2 more police officers came forward, backup that Grace had arranged. They took Vanessa by the arms and started leading her down the aisle, past the shocked wedding guests. You'll regret this. Vanessa screamed at Liam as they dragged her past him. You stupid little brat. I should have gotten rid of you when I had the chance. The threat made several guests gasp in horror. Ethan immediately pulled Liam close, wrapping his arms around his son protectively. They all watched as Vanessa was led out of the ballroom, still screaming and fighting, her beautiful wedding dress trailing behind her like a torn dream. The heavy doors closed behind her, muffling her angry shouts. The ballroom was completely silent except for the sound of whispered conversations and a few people crying in shock. Then Ethan collapsed to his knees beside Liam, his hands shaking as he pulled his son into a desperate hug. You saved me, he whispered, his voice cracking with emotion. Oh my God, Liam, you saved me. You saved our family. Our lives. Everything. Liam hugged his father back tightly, tears streaming down his face. All the fear, all the stress, all the worry from the past few days came pouring out. I just didn't want to lose you too, Dad. I already lost Mom. I couldn't lose you. I'm so sorry. Ethan was crying now too, holding his son like he'd never let go. I'm so sorry I didn't believe you. I'm so sorry I didn't listen. You tried to tell me, and God, Liam, I'm so sorry. It's okay, Dad. It's okay now. Aunt Grace knelt beside them, tears in her own eyes. Your mother would be so proud of you, Liam. You were so brave. So incredibly brave. Slowly, one by one, the guests began to applaud. It started with a few people in the back row, then spread through the crowd. Soon, all 300 people were clapping, not for a wedding, but for a 9-year-old boy who had saved his father from a terrible fate. Some of the guests were crying. Others were still in shock. But everyone understood what had just happened. They'd witnessed something extraordinary. A child's love and bravery had stopped a crime and saved a family. Ethan stood up, still holding Liam's hand, and addressed the crowd. His voice was hoarse with emotion. I'm sorry you all came here for a wedding that didn't happen. But I'm grateful, so grateful, that you're here to witness what real love looks like. My son loved me enough to risk everything to protect me. That's the most beautiful thing anyone's ever done for me. More applause, louder this time, mixed with sympathetic sniffles and supportive shouts. The wedding coordinator, looking completely overwhelmed, spoke up timidly. Mr. Miller? We have all this food prepared for the reception, and the band is here, and... Ethan looked around at all the guests, then down at his son. A small smile crossed his tear-stained face. Well, we can't let it all go to waste. Everyone, please join us for what was supposed to be a wedding reception. We'll call it a celebration of family instead. The tension in the room broke. People laughed in relief, and the atmosphere slowly shifted from shocked horror to something warmer. Guests came forward to hug Ethan, to tell Liam how brave he was, to express their shock and support. As the crowd moved toward the reception hall, Grace pulled Ethan aside. I need to get your statement later, and Liam's too. But for now, just be with your son. He's been through a lot. Thank you, Grace. Ethan hugged her tightly. Thank you for believing him when I didn't. That boy is special, Grace said, looking at Liam with pride. Just like his mother. 3 weeks later, life had settled into a new normal, or at least, a quieter kind of chaos. The story had made the news, of course. 9-year-old stops wedding, exposes con artist had been the headline in the local paper. Reporters had tried to interview them, but Ethan had politely declined, wanting to protect Liam from the spotlight. Victoria Reese, they'd stopped calling her Vanessa, had been formally charged with multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy to commit grand larceny. Her accomplice, Mark Davidson, had been arrested trying to board a plane to Mexico with fake passports. They were both being held without bail. The legal proceedings were ongoing, but Ethan's lawyer assured them that with all the evidence Liam had gathered, the case was solid. Now, Ethan and Liam were back in their own house, their real home, not the cold estate where the wedding was supposed to happen. The house felt different now. Quieter, but in a peaceful way. Ethan had made changes. He'd put all of Mama's pictures back up on the walls, even adding a few new ones he'd found in storage. He'd replanted her garden in the backyard with Liam's help, using the original plans she'd drawn years ago. He'd even found her recipe box in a storage unit. Vanessa had hidden it there, and returned it to its place in the kitchen. More importantly, Ethan had started seeing a therapist. He'd found one who specialized in grief and trauma, and he'd arranged for Liam to see a child psychologist too. At first, Liam had been nervous about it, but Dr. Sarah was nice and easy to talk to. She had toys in her office and didn't make him feel like there was something wrong with him. You experienced something very traumatic, Dr. Sarah had explained during their first session. Not just the wedding, but having to carry that burden alone, feeling like no one believed you. That's a lot for anyone, especially a child. It's okay to talk about how that made you feel. And slowly, Liam was learning to do that. Learning to talk about his fears and his feelings instead of keeping everything inside. Ethan had also made another big change. He'd cut back his work hours dramatically. He left the office by 5 p.m. every day now, no exceptions. He had breakfast with Liam every morning. He helped with homework. He actually listened when Liam talked, giving him his full attention instead of being distracted. I almost lost you, Ethan had said one evening while they were cooking dinner together, one of Mama's recipes. I got so lost in my own loneliness that I forgot the most important thing in my life was right in front of me. I'm never making that mistake again. Aunt Grace had become a regular presence in their lives. She came over for dinner twice a week, and Liam had started spending Saturday afternoons at her house, where she taught him to bake and told him stories about his mother that he'd never heard before. One evening, about a month after the almost wedding, Liam was cleaning out his closet to make room for new school clothes when he found something unusual. Behind a stack of old board games, pushed into the very back corner, was a sealed envelope. It was addressed in his mother's handwriting, "To my darling Liam. Open when you're ready to be brave." Liam's hands trembled as he carried it downstairs. "Dad? I found something." Ethan was in the kitchen, and when he saw the envelope, his face went pale. "Is that?" "It's from Mom." They sat together on the couch, and with shaking fingers, Liam opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, written in his mother's neat handwriting. It was dated just a few weeks before she died. Together, they read it. "My dearest Liam. If you're reading this, it means you've found your courage. I knew you would. You've always been my brave little knight, even when you didn't feel brave at all. By now, I'm gone, and I'm so sorry I couldn't stay with you longer. But I want you to know something important. Trust your heart, my sweet boy. When something feels wrong, it probably is. When someone's kindness doesn't feel real, it probably isn't. You have good instincts. Never let anyone tell you that you're wrong to listen to them. Your father is a good man, but he's going to be lost for a while without me. He's going to need you to be strong, to help guide him. But remember, you're still a child. You shouldn't have to carry grown-up burdens alone. If something ever feels too big or too scary, find an adult you trust. Aunt Grace, your teachers, anyone who makes you feel safe. Always be honest. Always be brave. And always trust your heart. I will love you forever, across time and space and everything in between. Whenever you need me, close your eyes and remember, I'm right there in your heart, cheering you on. All my love, always, Mama. By the time they finished reading, both Liam and Ethan were crying. Liam clutched the letter to his chest, feeling his mother's words wrap around him like a hug. That's exactly what saved us, Liam whispered. Trusting my heart. She knew, Ethan said, wiping his eyes. Even then, she knew you'd be the one to keep us safe. She was right about you, Liam. She was right about everything. They sat together in comfortable silence, holding each other, the letter resting between them like a bridge connecting past and present. I miss her, Liam said softly. Me too, buddy. Every single day. Ethan kissed the top of his son's head. But I have you. And that's everything. 4 months after the almost wedding, life had found a rhythm again. Liam was doing well in school, Ethan was slowly learning to trust again, and the house felt like a home instead of a sad museum of memories. It was a Tuesday evening when Ethan's phone rang. The caller ID showed the police department. Mr. Miller? This is Detective Martinez. Ethan's stomach dropped. He hadn't heard from the detective in weeks. Is everything okay? Liam looked up from his homework, sensing his father's tension. I wanted to inform you personally, Martinez said. Victoria Reese and Mark Davidson escaped during a transfer to another facility yesterday. The world seemed to tilt. Ethan's hand tightened on the phone. They what? It was during transport to the courthouse for a hearing. They managed to overpower a guard and fled in a stolen vehicle. We've been searching for them for the past 24 hours. Fear flooded through Ethan. Are we in danger? Should we? Mr. Miller, please let me finish, Martinez interrupted. They were apprehended 3 hours ago. Oh, thank God. Ethan's legs felt weak with relief. They were caught in Florida, trying to con another man. A retired banker in Miami. They were using different names, Sarah Chen and Robert Morrison this time. But the banker's daughter recognized them from the news coverage of your case and called the police. So they're back in custody? Yes, and this time they won't be going anywhere. With the escape added to their charges, plus attempting to defraud another victim, they're looking at 20 to 30 years minimum. The judge has denied bail entirely. After Ethan hung up, he sat down heavily on the couch. Liam set down his pencil and climbed up beside him. What happened? Ethan told him everything, watching his son's face cycle through fear and relief. So we're safe? Liam asked quietly. We're safe, Ethan confirmed. They can't hurt us anymore. Liam was quiet for a moment, then said softly, guess Mom's watching over us after all. Ethan pulled his son close, looking around their home, at the pictures of Rebecca on the walls, at the garden visible through the window, at all the evidence of the life they'd built and nearly lost and were now rebuilding. Yeah, he said, his voice thick with emotion. I really think she is. That night, Liam dreamed of his mother. She was standing in a field of white flowers, wearing her favorite yellow dress, smiling at him with that warm smile he remembered so well. You did it, little knight, she said in the dream. You saved your daddy. You were so brave. I missed you, Mama. I know, baby. But I'm always with you. Right here. She placed her hand over his heart. Always. When Liam woke up, the morning sun was streaming through his window, and he could hear his father making breakfast downstairs, actually making breakfast, not just pouring cereal. He could smell pancakes. Mama's recipe. Liam smiled, clutched his mother's letter that he now kept under his pillow, and got out of bed. Their family wasn't perfect. It was still broken in places, still healing. But they were together, they were safe, and they were learning to be happy again. And somehow, Liam knew that Mama, wherever she was smiling. Thank you for watching our story. If you enjoyed this tale of courage and family, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories. Tell us in the comments, have you ever had to be brave to protect someone you love? We'd love to hear your stories. Until next time, remember, always trust your heart.